Okay friends, if you are going to build with me our soda straw rocket launcher from NASA, these are the tools you'll need along with some tape and scissors, and you should have already printed out this page. Again, if you didn't get to build it with us on camera, I'm going to take you through those steps and I'll mention what needs to be done to complete your output page today. So first things first, you cut out the square rectangle, you cut out the fins, and then what you're going to do, they did say you could use a pencil, and that's just because they don't want you putting pressure or pinching or splitting your straw. So if you're worried about that too, you may use a pencil. I'm using the actual straw, and you're going to wrap that paper around the straw. You want it to be fairly tight, just because you don't want to have any gaps in terms of letting the air out or where the air could leak out. Now, on that seam, see where the paper comes together, you want to put a piece of tape and completely make sure you connect the seam with the paper, because again, that'll protect our air flow there, which is important. So see how it's splitting there? I need to make sure that I completely wrap and cover that seam and that it's taped from top to bottom, the paper is. Now again, you'll be able to cut out a rectangle on your own if you want, when you want to make modifications. You won't need a second paper, but this is just to get you started. We're pretty specific, okay? But remember, engineers look at what works and they fix what doesn't work. Okay, so there's the base of our rocket. Now, with these little things, we're going to cut them in half, and it was kind of confusing on the paper reading about what to do. So I definitely want to show you that. I'm going to take my straw and see at one end, will be these fins. Now what I have done is I kept that little ending fin lined up with the bottom of the paper. Now, of course, when you make modifications, you can change it. You can think about tucking it into the straw, but I didn't want to add any sort of friction. So I'm going to have to make my tape a little thinner there. I'm going to tape that bottom fin and that in-between piece and line that up on the straw. And then I want to tape the top of that. I know you guys are watching me in action as we do it. And apply some tape there. Then what happens is these fins, you keep the rectangular part flush with the straw, but I'm going to bring those fins up so that if we were looking at it that way, they're now sitting up, right? And then you do the same with the fins on this side. So again, placement is important. You're going to test things out. You might not end up with far distance with it like this. So you might choose to put your fins in a different position when you rebuild. Again, I cannot say this enough. There goes my loudmouth dog. I cannot say this enough, but engineers often don't get it right on the first go around. So part of engineering is really playing and tinkering and finding what works, okay? It's a rarity that you come to that conclusion on the first go around. So I have a feeling these fins are awfully important in determining how far it goes. So when you redo your model, you might consider making larger fins, changing it up a bit. Now here's I'll get there in a second. Now for your tip of your aircraft here, your rocket, it wants you to pinch and twist. It even mentions applying tape, okay? So this is called the nose of the aircraft. And I'm going to apply some tape because you don't want any air escaping and slowing your vehicle down, okay? You want to have lots of velocity when you blow into that straw. Okay, so now I have my rocket intact. Should look something like this. That is the building of your rocket. On to step 2. Suggestion for a successful launch. when you go to blow on your straw, now see how it has those little ridges because that's where it bends. Make sure they are down and secured. And then I wouldn't put your straw all the way into the rocket. I would have your rocket no further down than those little ridges if this is the top of the straw, okay? It seemed to have the best success. But again, engineering is about playing with the details and making modifications. So see what works, my friend. So the goal in this is to blow outwards, straight across, rather than up, because we're checking for distance. So, Kira, on your marks, get set, go! Okay, so what Kira's going to do is set down her straw where her foot was, not elsewhere, and pray that your little white dog doesn't take the rocket in his mouth. Oh my gosh, let's try that one again. You are going to want to measure from the tip to the end of the wing there, or the fin, I should say. So according to my calculations, that looks like it's 5.5 inches. And then it's important that you record that on your trial because you are going to modify this vehicle, right? So currently it's 5.5 inches. That's the symbol for inches. And on trial number 1, it went 3.5 feet. Okay? If you notice, before you do a modification, you have to do 5 trials. Ah, cool. We might be able to keep this sheet and then have Mr. Schwab talk about probability. Cool.